Alright, what's going on, guys? Time for an update. So I've been plugging away at the bed of this truck, and it's all been sandblasted, patched, and then I've gone over it with the DA and some 80 grit. You can see it's kind of dull looking. We're getting ready to put epoxy primer on this tomorrow. So both sides and the underside of the rail itself is clean. That's all we're doing on this. We're not going under and trying to paint the cross members and things. So next thing's next. I was kind of in a hurry and I wanted to get some epoxy primer on this floor after I sandblasted it. And I really go back and forth with sandblasting. The weather's been crappy and I couldn't do anything outside. So I did all of this inside, and we are going to put the bed liner back on the floor. So wherever there's gray epoxy will be bed liner again. I got some seam sealing to do. I got a seam seal down in there, and I'm going to do the welds from the back side. But I wanted to give you guys that update, and I've kind of moved on to these doors. I'm trying to burn some time this afternoon, and I've started to fill a little bit here. I'm not done with them, but I came across something, and I think maybe this might be useful to some people. When you have fenders or doors or any panel that has stone chips in it that are this bad, it's basically, it's not heavily sandblasted, but it's pretty screwed up down the side, and there's rust in those. See the dark spots down there? The only way to do this the right way is to strip it off. Now this truck has single stage paint on it, and whatever the factory Ford sealer was, I assume it's epoxy. So I'm stripping these doors with the DA and a piece of 80 grit. That's the only way I know to do this. Now, you might say, well, 2K primer could fill that. Yeah, it probably could, but that's probably one of the worst ways to abuse primer. Second problem you run into is that rust isn't going anywhere. It's still there, and just burying it in 2K primer or epoxy is not going to make that problem go away. You can argue it hasn't rusted any more than it is, and you really can't tell, but when you're doing a paint job for somebody, you want to do it the right way. Make sure you get that off. Strip it back, do what you got to do. These doors aren't that big, and this paint is so old it comes off really quick. Now you could use some sort of stripping disc and take that off, but in the reality of it is you're making a little bit more work for yourself, because that thing can leave some deep scratches. These doors aren't all beat up, it's just the fact that they're all peppered with stone chips. And I've been working on this hood. I hit it with some 320 on the DA, and I'm finding stuff like this. He's had this hood for probably 10 years up in his loft and been leaning stuff against it. If you guys are going to save parts for cars for a long time, wrap them in blankets or something, because you end up with scratches like that all over it, and it doesn't take a long time to fix it, but this hood was probably perfect before it got stored. It is very obvious that a fender laid up against that and dug into it with a sharp edge, and they're all over this thing. There's a big gouge in it right there, and you can see it. The tape fairy's been here. That's how I mark things. That really gets me. This is a Ford OEM hood that was a takeoff a long time ago, and I can understand wanting to keep it for sure because it's original metal. It's not an aftermarket piece. But I do have a set of aftermarket fenders over here. And again, if time doesn't mean anything to you, by all means, fix up something like this. You can see the rusty scratch in it right there, or maybe there's some brown lacquer primer under it. These things are orange peely as shit. I will probably, these aren't Ford fenders, these are aftermarkets that he got. I will probably throw these in the dumpster or give them away, because I will have hours upon hours of stripping all that paint off. I have no idea what's underneath it. To me, they're junk, because an aftermarket fender is $110. And that's what these are. So, 2-3 hours of my labor a piece, I could have bought new ones, and I don't have to deal with the bullshit of this junk paint all over them. Just kind of ranting here. I hate when people save parts and then tell me they're good and then bring them to me and they're beat up like this. I can fix them, but at the end of the day, it costs more to fix it than it does to buy a new one. So there's the passenger side of the floorboard. I will have some work cleaning up in the jams here before I go to prime this truck. I'm going to seal this truck in epoxy because I don't trust the paint that's on it very well. It's been coming off with just regular wax and grease remover. I take it on a rag and rub it, and it's just, I've rubbed it down to the primer, and I don't understand what's going on there, but this truck was not a peeler either. So I don't know what happened to it, why it's coming off like that, but like I said, it wasn't a peeler truck like some of those 90s Ford's trucks were and cars. Not sure. Maybe it got the factory repaint. I don't know. I don't know the backstory on it. So I'll bring you guys back when there's a little more to show on this, but I figured that kind of stuff was noteworthy, and it may seem like it's a lot of unnecessary work to tear a door apart and pull the door handles out and locks, but once I got the doors on the stand, it's literally a 10-minute operation. It just doesn't take long to do. So I was watching a video the other day. I'll put you guys on the stand here. I was watching a video the other day, and the guy was taking a cab off of a truck to pull a motor, a Ford Super Duty, and trying to get at the V10 motor, and a lot of people are saying, why do you go through all that work to tear it apart? And that's a lot like body work. If you know how to tear it apart, it's faster, simpler, and you can see the whole story if you tear it apart than it is to fight trying to reach into a tight area or mask something off. It just, I guess it comes with experience and doing this kind of stuff. When you tear things apart all the time, you get fast at it and it's less aggravation. So don't be afraid to tear something apart. That's how you learn how it goes back together. I mean, it applies to a lot of things, but especially this. Tear it apart. It's just faster in the long run. So I'll bring you guys back. I just wanted to give you guys that little snippet. All right, I got this one door done here, and I want to show you this up close. All those dark spots, now that the paint is stripped away. See, there's so many of them. To get all those stone chips out and then get down to that rust spot, you would have had 100 feather edge spots. It's just not worth it. It's easier to strip the whole area. If I could offer a word of advice, this door, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work up in here because this paint's all chipped. And anywhere there's a scratch up here, I'll feather it out. But this, it's not all peppered and speckled up here like it was on the bottom where the stone chips had got it. I'm going to stop about an inch off of this body line here so that even though we're going to block this, I don't want to have to deal with this big wavy line that's going through there of paint. If I don't get it perfect, I'd rather have it close to the body line so you don't notice it. Same thing with this door. You can look down the bottom of that door. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. There's little dents along the whole bottom of that door. This whole area here, you're going to feel it. It's all ripply. I don't think this door's been skinned, but it's about what it looks like. Something else that's noteworthy. See in the shadow where the decal was, you see the word maintenance. If you're trying to get rid of a decal mark that's in the paint like this, whether it's base clear or single stage, the only way I know to get it to not ghost back through the paint is to strip it all the way down to the steel and 80 grit the snot out of the steel everywhere that is to try and get it leveled down, because this has caused marks in the steel. Don't believe me? Prime that and paint over it and let me know how it looks in a couple of days after the primer shrinks up around it, after you've blocked it. It'll do that again. You'll see those words or a decal or whatever. So if you're gonna try and make a door that had decals on it be without and no ghosting, that's the only way to do it, and that's not even foolproof. But that's that. And the last thing I got done here, I kind of did this real quick, I was getting ready to leave. The way this new panel fits, It's not like the old one where there's a separate weather strip channel. This one, the floor panel, repair panel, is made into the weather strip channel. So I seam sealed it there, and I seam sealed it up in there. Now you could cover the welds. I scuffed that before with some 320 red Scotch-Brite. That was a gap, and I wanted to make sure it got filled. There's nothing I could do about it to weld it closed because the metal was just too thin down there, and it's in a real crap spot. I don't have much light underneath here, but this is the other thing I did. I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not. It might. Ooh, boy, is it dark underneath here. Basically, you can see seam sealer here, and that's where that floor panel met the rocker. And I also covered the welds. You can see there's seam sealer. I brushed it after I applied it, just to cover all of that. This will get whatever this black undercoating garbage is. It'll probably get bombed over that again. I think this is Z-Bart. Because it's got Z-Bart rust proofing plugs all over the truck, so I'm thinking that's what it is. I would probably just bomb some flat black on there, and if he wants to throw more undercoating on it, you know, he can do that. So I figured I'd show that. That's what the bottom side of this repair looks like. It's dark underneath here, but it really came out really nice. Really. I don't always put seam sealer over welds like that, but when it's under a vehicle, I just wanted to make double sure that that's as protected as it can get. So that's it for this vid, guys. Catch you on the next one.